So, subdomains are one of the biggest security weakness in any company. And this bad thing is most of these companies don't even know they have a problem with it. In this specific video, I'm gonna explain exactly what subdomain is and how we can do the enumeration of subdomain and why they are so important from the security perspective. And we will also practically learn how we can find it out. So all of this will be covered in this video. And if you are new here, this is actually the series on passive reconnaissance, and this is part 3. I have covered in part 1, I have talked about which is the very first part of passive reconnaissance, and in part 2, I have covered about the DNS enumeration, and now in this video, we will talk about the subdomain enumeration. So without further delay, let's get started. Alright, so the first thing we need to understand is what are subdomain. A subdomain is a domain under another domain. Let me explain. I know these sound confusing. So over here you can see we have this school example. We have a domain. Let's take the example. Domain is equal to the school itself. So the domain we have is school.com, and the subdomains are these are different classes or room inside the school, because in school we have classes. Each room has a specific job. For example, we have math.school.com. This is a math class. Another one we have is the science.school.com. This is a science lab. Another one we have is library.school.com. This is a library room. So the structure all are here is school.com is the whole school. Med.school.com is the math room, and this is the science room, right? So these are these things are called the subdomains. Or to make it even simpler, we have, let's say we have a pizza shop and they have a website domain called pizza.com. This is the whole shop overall. Then inside they have some stuff like for ordering counter, we have subdomain like order.pizza.com for ordering purpose. Then we have another subdomain for menu board, which is called menu.pizza.com, and another one is to track.pizza.com for delivery tracking desk, right? So a subdomain is just a special section inside the main website. So hope you understand now what the subdomain is. Now I'm gonna explain why does a company have a subdomain? Why not just the main work everything on the main domain? So let's say imagine you are running a company called Tech Corporation, okay, and you have a domain called techcorp.com. So your company needs the main website of the home page where you can share the public information, do your marketing. Then you need API endpoint. This is another thing related to mobile phone or integration purpose. And then you might have the admin panel as well. You might need the admin panel so that your employees can manage the company website. And another example, another subdomain might be the blog, so where you can post the blog for on the website. And these are the other thing as well, but let's just take example of these things, okay? So you can put all of these things on the main domain itself, but it is possible technically. But the problem is that user can all of them will be on different ports are, let's say you can take the example, these are the logical port, and the physical port are, you can take the example of your PC or laptop, or specifically the laptop. It's simpler, you might already know. The USB port, this is just one port. The type C port or the charging port, these are the ports. So it's one laptop but they are different ports, right? Similarly, we have the main domain and these are different ports, and each port work something some specific thing. This is the case if we put everything on the same main domain. But the problem is we have with this is uh, user cannot remember all of the ports number specifically, or this is one problem. Another problem we have is one server does everything and it gets overloaded, like it is doing a lot of things. And let's assume there are a lot of traffic on this, on the website, on your company's website. So since it is all loaded, it will be slow. It will perform, the performance of it will be slow. Another reason we have is all services fail if one part fail. So since all of them are on one main domain, if for some reason the main domain fails, the rest of the thing will also get fail and nobody can access that. That's the main reason. Another thing is security nightmare. What it means, if someone somehow manage to hack that subdomain, the main website, they will get access to all of these things, right? And it is hard to manage and cannot scale independently. These are the different reason why we need a subdomain. For that same reason we got the subdomain. Hope you understood now why, what is subdomain, and why do some company, a lot of, not some, a lot of companies, most of the companies have the subdomain. You understand now why they have that. Okay, now since you understand what is subdomain and why does it exist, let's talk about the different types of the subdomain. So the first type we have is the public facing subdomain. This is the first type. Okay, we're gonna cover the other type as well after this one. So example we have is the www.example.com. This is the main website. The blog.example.com is the blog subdomain for blogging purpose. And this is another one we have is the shop.example.com. Let's say you have a website and you also sell something, you have some kind of product, so you create the subdomain on the main domain, and then that domain is specifically about your store, you sell your stuff over there, so it is related to the e-commerce. And then we have another one as well, this api.example.com. All of these website, all of these things are publicly available, public facing subdomain. That's why we call that, because it needs to be publicly accessible. If a user cannot access the main website, how will they know about your service or your company, right? Another thing is, if they cannot read the blogs, why are you even writing that? So they must be publicly available, accessible. Another thing also, the shop one is, if you are trying to sell something but your subdomain is not publicly accessible, or what's the point of selling your product? Then nobody will be able to access that. So this is why we need to make those subdomain publicly accessible. This is one type. Okay, another type we have is the internal administrative subdomain. These are like admin.example.com. These are like the admin panels, internal example.com, internal portal, and these are the other thing. For example, we have the other one, the above one we just talked about. Mostly they don't need any credential by default, but these are company specific. They have their own internal infrastructure and these stuff. So the simplest example we can take out of all of these is the admin.example.com. This is the admin portal. A lot of website have that admin portal where the admin, the employees can manage the website. So most of the time, almost most of the time, they will need to ask you credential, like to access this you will have to enter the email, username, or and password. This is the second type. Hope you understood this. Another one, let's see what is the third type. So it's about development slash testing subdomains, like dev.example.com, staging, test, demo, QA, quality assurance. These are not meant for public, not meant for production data, meant or mean it's for internal testing only, and barely, it is barely secured, like kind of they are not publicly accessible to the public, but still they, since it has the internet access, they are somehow accessible through internet. If we can somehow find those subdomains, and we can if, like for example, if it is asking for credential, and we can somehow find out those credentials by using some methods to find the password, we can actually get the access to these and get the internal data. And the fourth type is the backup slash alt subdomain. These are the domains that are either forgotten by the team, or they just made it archive, so it just stayed there but they have not deleted that. For example, all.example.com, backup.example.com, archive.example.com, archive of all content. These are the subdomains that are like kind of old subdomains, right? So they are meant to be temporary, should be deleted. Yeah, these are they should be deleted, but still they are there. And why these are very most dangerous is, let's take the example of this. Imagine we have a subdomain called all.example.com that is forgotten, that is all or archived by the team, and it was created 5 years ago and running a WordPress specific version 3.0, like from 2010, and it was never updated. So now the problem with this is it has a lot of vulnerability nowadays. Like for example, it has hundreds of vulnerability, and we can the hacker or the exploiter can use those vulnerability to exploit that subdomain, that specific WordPress version, and get internal access, and can steal data and can get access to their internal system. So that is why it is too dangerous. Now it's time to talk about what we can get from the subdomain, the value we will get from doing the subdomain enumeration. So we have this example. The first discovery, the first value we can get from subdomain enumeration is it tells us the service architecture. For example, subdomains reveal company infrastructure. Like we see api.example.com, we can know that company has the API. Staging.example.com, company does stage deployment. Dev.example, company has development process, and admin.example.com, company has admin portal. So from this we can see what processes they follow, what infrastructure they have, how serious they are about security. So this is just one thing we can get from the subdomain enumeration. Another thing is the technology stack. Technology stack simply mean these are the thing that is used, these are the technology used to create the website. So for each subdomain we can find out, like, so we have this example, but the above example I give you with the old archive website subdomain that has the WordPress old version. This is kind of the same thing. Let's say we find out our subdomain, and we then check the technology stack for that specific subdomain. We can check that, and later in the series we will be learning all about that, like how we can actually look for the technology stack for a specific for a subdomain and the main domain, and based on that, based on the version, we can try to see what are their vulnerability, if any exists, and how we can exploit that, right? So that's the same thing. We can find out the technology stack. Another thing is the potential vulnerability. That's the same thing again. Like we find out specific version, specific technology stack that is being used in that subdomain, and once we find out that, we can just go to the explorer database, Google, or somewhere to some forum, and search for that specific technology stack, that technology and its specific version. Like again, the example of that old WordPress, we can just go to Google, type the WordPress with that version that we found out, and see if any vulnerability exists or no. If we find some, we can then see how it can be used to exploit that subdomain. So that's overall. This is again, this is the same thing. Attack path, we look for subdomain, we find technology stack, we then find vulnerability, and after that we plan the attack. So that's how these are the things that we can get from enumerating the subdomain. Now let's talk about how we can find the subdomains. We have actually different methods. Number one we have is the zone transfer. This is not applicable these days, but let's understand what the zone transfer is. Okay, so zone transfer is when a DNS server returns all record for a domain at once. For example, normal DNS query will be like, what's the IP address for the api.example.com, and it will tell us the IP address. It's a single IP address, right? But what the zone transfer will do is, it will be like, we will ask, give me every record for example.com for the main domain, and including all of the subdomain, and it will give us the IPs for all of, including the subdomain as well, like this one, and all of the subdomain it has. So it will kind of give us the complete infrastructure, all of the information in one query. So let's see this one. Imagine finding a company with 50 plus domain. Normal method will be guess 100 common subdomains. We might find 10 and forget other, or like miss a lot of them. What the zone transfer will do is we ask one query, we get all of the subdomains, complete picture, complete infrastructure in just less than a minute. Let's understand the historic. Let's understand how zone transfer worked. In the early days of the DNS, from 1980s to 1990s, zone transfer were allowed. Any computer could ask, "Give me all the DNS record," the way we just did. Told you, and DNS server will respond with all of that. So it's actually very bad because attacker does the zone transfer on example.com or any back in days, back in times, on any domain. They get all of the subdomain, every server address and every mail address. They basically get the complete infrastructure, and based on that they plan their attack, how, what to target, how to target, what's easy, and which one can give us these, which one we can exploit to give us the instant access. So it was very bad. Because of this reason, the security was added. The DNS server were configured to deny zone transfer to anyone except the authorized secondary DNS server. I mean, only it will only does this zone transfer kind of thing to the DNS server, not to anyone else. The way it used to be, like for any normal person, it will show all of those subdomains with their IP. Now it does only with the DNS server. Okay, so still, if even if you want to just learn, this does not work. But uh, in the previous video, in the DNS enumeration, which was the practical, we were doing the practical, we find out how to figure out the name server of a specific domain. It was like um, ns lookup, which was that tool ns. In that we find out how we can see the name server. And since we get the, let's say we get the name server, now we have the name server, we can, what we can do is we can use the dig tool and specify the name server we got from the previous result and specify the domain we are targeting. And we just need to type this axfr. This axfr mean zone transfer command, and they will get the result like all of the subdomain. But this does not work anymore, so let's just skip this. Now we have another method, which is the DNS lookup. It's like for example, you find out what's the it's the reverse DNS lookup, opposite to the normal DNS. So instead of entering the domain name, the subdomain name, we enter the IP address. So that is that. It is also not very good, so let's just skip also this, not very important. What is really important is we what we do is we have a word list. Like in word list we have a lot of word in a specific file, words like admin, and then the portal, or like API, or like a lot of the these are the example. Okay, staging, dev, mail, CDN, these are the different example. We have a lot of file already just on the GitHub. We don't actually need to write it by our own. So what we do is we get that file, all of the word list that has all of these word. And what we do is we use some automated tool, automation to automated tool, and we just specify the domain we are targeting and specify the word list. So it just kind of automatically figure out the subdomain. There are actually like word list that is not that is like comprehensive, a lot of words, and some that are like short, has not so many words. So if you want just simple enumeration, DNS enumeration, subdomain enumeration, you can just use the word list that has less words. And if you want comprehensive, you can just download the comprehensive one. So what I'm gonna do is we will be using one of the file, okay, and we will use that automatic tool. There are a lot of them, we will just use one of them, and I will name the other as well, so you can see and try it out if you want. I have went over here and asked the ChatGPT best word list for subdomain enumeration using GoBuster. This is his tool name. So it give me like the word list name by default. Most of some of them are by default in Linux, but a lot of them you will have to download from the internet. Okay, so I think I will just go with this one. It has 5,000 entries. I think 5,000 words, and this is thorough. It has 20,000, and it has one like 10,000 entries words. So the more the word, the more time it will take, but the more comprehensive it will be. Okay, so I will be using the GoBuster, but let me just give you show you the name that we have the other tools. Okay, let's see which we have. One is this sublister tool, another one we have is the emas, and another one asset finder, and I think yeah we are done. So we have these three tool and one with GoBuster. So I'm gonna use the GoBuster and see how we can actually find out the subdomain for some domain. Okay, so over here I have this Kali Linux which is in browser by the try hack me. So let me just open the terminal, and what I'm gonna do is first of all I'm gonna see if this word list exists in my car Linux or no. So I just copy this full path. Okay, and now let's go over here and type the get and then the this specific path. So yeah, we can confirm the file exists. Now what we can do is we can just type the tool which is called the go buster. It also exists because it just gets blue, right? If it was not there, it will not get that green kind of thing. So we have this. Now let's see how we can use this GoBuster. So there are different available commands or modes you can see. Right now we need the DNS one, which uses DNS domain subdomain enumeration mode. So we're gonna specify the GoBuster and the DNS, and then what we need is we need the specific domain and the domain we are targeting and the word list as well. So let's first of all type the hyphen w and share the full path, and then also hyphen d with the domain. So I'm gonna just use the target the tryhackme.com. Okay, and you can see right here it's just kind of checking using the word list to find out the subdomain for the tryhackme domain. So let's just where it is trying to find out, it is testing, it is checking using the DNS, and actually it find out. I don't know if it so I think we find out 10. I'm not sure, but whatever it find, you can see this is the sub main domain. This is the subdomain blog.tryhackme.com, and these are not just random. These are actually real and they work. Like for example, if I copy this and go over here and paste this, it will just actually land me on the blog page. So this is that, and we also have the admin.tryhackme.com. If I copy this, paste it over here, let's see. Yeah, so they just I typed that, and since I am outside their network, they have done something. They redirected me to something else. So that is done by them. Another one we can check is this store.tryhackme.com. Let's try this one. Yeah, so this also works. You can see right here it actually find out the subdomain. So hope you get the idea how the what is the subdomain, how it works, why it is so important, and what are the ways we can find the subdomain, and from that what kind of value we can get. If you have any question in any of these, let me know. I will make sure to answer you. And in the next video, what we're gonna cover is, let me see what we are going to do. So in the next video actually we will be doing covering about the SSL certificate transparency. um what it is, actually is you see right here this log kind of thing. It has this tryme.com has a specific certificate, and it will be all about this how we can use this thing to find out information about websites, subdomains. Okay, so I will see you in the next video. See you soon.